Thank you for listening to the Tattness podcast on the Tattness Co. Network.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. A Mercedes kind of sentiment, luxury, and trust in me to honor the free we all should be. It sees my sundial burst into yin and yang, right and left me.
What's up, you guys? Welcome to the Tattness podcast. My guest today is somebody who's kind of in both fields, which is really cool. He's basically a model and a rapper, so it's kind of cool, man, to be so multifaceted and be busy. I mean, a dude after my own heart, obviously, as I'm involved in all sorts of things, many fields. So I dig it, and he's such a good dude. I had a lot of fun talking to him. Check it out. So this is Sage Suede.
How's it going, man?
It's good. I'm drinking some Dr. Pepper, trying to stay awake right now.
You've got it so rough. Your fucking interviews are nonstop. So I know the whole no sleep thing. It's I'm not a big sleep guy myself, out of necessity.
Yeah. Can't wait to sleep in finally. I haven't had a day off since last week. So.
Well, I mean, shit. You're a busy cat though, right? So.
Yeah, I worked through last weekend too, so I actually get this weekend off. I'm happy about that.
I've been lucky ever since doing this. I started to kind of not really have anybody fucking with me on weekends and asking me to do shit. It's always they'll hit me up on a weekend and be like, hey, Monday or Tuesday or whatever, can you fit this person in? I'm like, sure. But nobody's actually asked me to do a weekend show. I think the last time I did a weekend show was probably Sadie Katz, who is fucking awesome. I'll make time for Sadie anytime. She's a good friend. She's awesome. So that's that's like having a conversation with a friend, and fuck, it's not even work. None of this is really, before anyone jumps down my throat. But she got a shit ton going on, because you got the music thing going on and all this other, shit that you do. It's just you keep yourself busy.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot going on right now. I also have a gallery showing today, which is pretty cool.
That is cool. Yeah, I love it. I'm the same way. I keep busy. I've got 400 things going on at once. Thank God I got a personal assistant who kicks all sorts of ass, because I'd be lost without her.
So do you do tattoos or anything? You just really like tats?
I used to. I used to do ink quite a bit, and I'm probably not done with it completely. It's just I think most tattoo artists will discover, when you get into that, all of a sudden, it's just like becoming famous. All of a sudden, you got 90 some best friends that you never knew you had, that didn't give you the time of fucking day before. Now all of a sudden they save a lot of this, and it's time to get closer, and it's everybody wants something for nothing, and it gets very demanding, and it's just this sucks. I don't fucking love this anymore, because you're already doing things for minimal pay, trying to make it more affordable for people, but everybody wants something for free. You got your own fucking so-called family that, cousins that never had anything to do with you before. All of a sudden, oh, you're doing ink now? We should get closer. Fuck you. How much more transparent could you be? You know what I mean? It's so blatantly obvious. And then, I don't know, man. I just got to a point where I love art so much that I didn't want to hate it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And when it became kind of toxic, I was like, okay, I'm not doing this anymore. Fuck it.
Yeah, it's gotta be tough having somebody's body as a canvas, and they want to direct what you're doing and stuff like that, but you want that freedom there.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure. And for me, the one thing I hate about it is I'll do art all day if I'm in the mood. But to basically be told, do this on this day when you really just don't feel like it, I think anyone that does art knows if you're not in the mood to do art and you try, it's just shit. It's not there. You know what I mean? It turns out it's the drizzling shits. It looks like garbage, and it shows you didn't really like have it in you. Like your creativity follows the mood, I think. So if you're not in the mood to do art, your creativity just isn't flowing either, and it's just like you don't enjoy it. You know, you could do it, because with tattooing, at least there's stencils and all that shit. You're following a line, but it's like if you're not into it, and then you start to notice things more, like your back starts killing you because you're hunched over, you know, and it starts to feel like it's taking forever because it's not a quick process. I can tell you from experience, there's not a tattoo artist out there that's taking longer to do the job just to get paid more. It's a long process. If you want it to be thorough and look good, it does take a long time. Even though the needle's going like, 1,000 times a minute, it still takes a long time. So there's no way around it. And I know I've sat through sleeves and shit. My forearm was 7.5 hours straight. It was an all-day event. So I know getting that done, it takes time. And even though on paper it looks like it's nothing, because if you were to draw it up, you do it in like a quarter of the time. But on skin, totally different. And you're right, you have that pressure of it's permanent. If you botch it, you're gonna have one unhappy son of a bitch to deal with, and rightfully so. And and if you're a perfectionist type of person like I am, fuck, you add more pressure to yourself. So yeah, that's where the name came from. Was a client that couldn't remember my name to save their life gave it to me as a way to identify me, and then other people followed suit, even if they did know my fucking name, and it stuck. So I was like, I branded myself with everything I did. It just worked, so.
Yeah, that's a cool name. I only have one tattoo on my foot. It was funny because like the guy that he did the tattoo for me, he like was really reluctant. I'm not sure why. He was just like, I don't like, are you sure you want me to do this? Like, I don't really want to do this. And then eventually he did it. I mean, it came out fine. He did a good job and everything. He just was so reluctant to get started.
That's what you want to hear before you get something permanent on you. Are you sure you want me to do this?
Yeah, I was kind of concerned. And it was like a scorpion, So I did look at like pictures on the internet of how people like do scorpions and stuff. It's funny because a lot of, I guess maybe some guys are like thinking about sex or something when they're doing it on girls or whatever. Because a lot of the heads of the tail on the scorpion, they look like dick heads. And I don't think the guy I don't think he made one that looked like a dick head. I think it was just like slightly too big, and I was like, can you make that a little more curly or something? But it's good because it doesn't look like there's a dick on my ankle, but it could have looked like that.
It's really funny you say that because when I got my sleeve done, I was friends with the artist that did it at that point. We became pretty quick friends, which seems to happen with every guest I have on my show too, which is kind of cool. So he asked me while doing my sleeve, he's about halfway through, and says, do you know of any tattoo artists, or have you heard of any tattoo artists that put, or have you heard of the fact that tattoo artists tend to put subliminal hidden dicks in their work? And I was like, no. He's like, I bet you'll be looking now, though, won't you? And I'm like, you mother.
I did notice that for sure.
I was like, if I find any hidden dicks in my sleeve, you motherfucker. But he was just a funny dude. Like, he was pretty hilarious. So it made the time go by too, because when you're sitting for 7.5 hours straight, you want to have a conversation with someone that actually, can carry on a conversation, and he was good at that. And he had the same type of humor as me, so I can totally relate to that scorpion thing. And I give you credit, man. Um, for your first tat, you went for the like fucking gusto on the painful spot because that shit is all bone.
Oh yeah, I got like the stinger is like on the bone of the ankle, so that was the hardest part. But the rest of the foot, you don't feel it that much. It's just kind of like a little tickle there, you know.
Right. I I feel like everything I get takes forever. I got the first half of my sleeve done was 7.5 hours straight, and then I got like the bicep part done. That was about another 6.5. And once you start getting into the tricep area, that's when you really feel it. And that area is sensitive as shit. I don't care. Like my pain tolerance is stupid. What it does for me is it just irritates me to the point where it's almost like someone just poking you repeatedly, and it gets fucking annoying. Where you just want to turn around and be like, "What the fuck do you want?" You know what I mean? But it's the machine, you know. So you're just like, "Oh, this is really pissing me off." You know, it's just kind of like a because I don't really feel pain much. It's more just like an annoyance, you know, like just a really sharp, annoying fucking hey, you know, like trying to get your attention kind of deal. You know, it's like a hyperactive child or something. It's just like fucking stop, you know. But you know, it's still after so many hours when you're sitting there and your ass gets numb and you're just like, man, I would like to get up and stretch at least and do something, you know, other than sit here. But before you know it, it's done and it's fucking awesome. And then it's like not too many more big pieces to go and it's done. But you know, a couple grand later, why not, right?
Yeah, it was a little hard for me to leave because I was living in Boston at the time, so I had to take public transit. Like with this thing on my foot, you know, just kind of like hopping on one foot around. I should have taken a car or something. It would have been much easier.
No doubt. I mean, the foot's hard too, especially in summer because you want to keep direct sunlight off of it so it doesn't fade to shit. But you also don't want to be rubbing it, putting socks and shoes on and shit.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like it's a tricky spot. My show's producer got one done on her foot, and that was the challenge. Plus, she's a nurse in her full-time career. She just comes by once in a while to either co-host with me or to basically save me from being the technological idiot that I am because I don't know shit. When it comes to technology, I'm like fucking Amish, man. I don't know fuck all.
You know, it's funny, like Amish people, like some of them do use technology now. Like I saw like a Oprah thing and they had like electronic cow milkers on all their cows. I was like, doesn't this kind of like defeat the purpose? Like, why ride in the wagon when you have your electronic cow milker?
Right. And I lived in an area back in the day with Mennonites who are almost the same thing. And these motherfuckers are like a cult. It's creepy because they have a higher up. Only he's allowed to have a roof on his carriage and shit. Only he's allowed to drive a car if he wants to, have a cell phone. The rest of them, some of them have like a sheet metal factory they built. Some have a welding thing that they built. It's like, I thought you guys weren't allowed to do this shit. They're not allowed to eat candy,
Hmm.
the younger ones and whatnot. Watching these motherfuckers work is nerve-wracking because they don't give a shit if they die. So they're up like, 40, 50 feet in the air, 60 feet in the air, unharnessed, just walking around. Like, who gives a shit? If I fall, I fall. It's
Jeez.
like, because in their belief system, it's like they're just wasting time being here until something better. So they're like, fuck it. If I fall and die, fucking A, like they're good with it. And it's like, dude, that's not cool to watch. You just wait and they're like, don't fall, you stupid bastard,
Oh, jeez.
But to listen to them talk too is really creepy because they're like, as soon as the last of the oldest of the bunch bites it, we make the rules. So they'll change it up, and it's like, you guys sound like you're gonna put a hit out on like the old man, like it's fucking weird, dude.
I feel like if I was gonna like risk it all and just be walking around on roofs and stuff without anything tying me down, I'd probably eat the candy too. No?
Give yourself something at least. Fuck. deprive yourself forever and then just fall off like some 70-foot fucking structure.
Yeah.
It's not the move, man. That's not for me.
Be an interesting Halloween for sure.
Right? Real decorations.
No candy, just metal.
Right.
Sheet metal
Sheet
everywhere.
metal. We'll weld something for you. How about that? So what got you into music, man?
Oh, I've just been doing music forever, you know. It's just finally got to the point that I've like produced my own stuff and made my own album and all that. So
That's awesome, man. I love that. I think that's great to be able to be hands-on and just kind of do everything yourself as much as possible. And I've always done that with my business too. But then you get to a point where things expand so much that you kind of come to that harsh realization that as much as you want to be a control freak, you can't wear all the hats. There's only so many hours in a day. You can only do so much by yourself. And it's like, now I got to trust people, very capable people, but still you kind of have that obsession of like watching over them. Like, did you do that the way I would have, like, and it's like, you probably drive people fucking nuts with that. I know I do, but hey, that time frame of just doing shit all by yourself is awesome. I love that because especially with art, you know what I mean. It's yours. No one's gonna see your vision the way you do. So if you could do as much of it by yourself as possible and make it exactly what you wanted without someone else's opinions kind of tarnishing it, I think that's great, man.
yeah, and I definitely like to have more people involved. It's just like I have to meet the right people. Like when I was a little bit earlier on, I was talking with some friends, like we were going to form a band or something, and then none of them did anything. So, you know, like I would have liked to work with people earlier on, but no one was dependable really. I did a collab though recently with a keyboard player in LA. Her name's Jasmine De Leon, and that went really well. So it was great working with her at least.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing too, is you'll get a lot of people that may have good intentions and they'll say, yeah, we need to do this. But when the time comes and they see you're serious and they're like, I was just saying shit because that was the mood I was in at the time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, you're passionate about it. They're not. They just,
Yeah.
it sounds fun, right?
And there's all those other friends that like they don't even like see it as viable until it's completely finished and it's already been like publicized in a bunch of places and then they're like, "Oh, you weren't crazy." Like
Dude, you have
so
no idea. I
so
mean,
many of those.
I spent my whole fucking life being told that you ain't going to be shit. And the second I spent the last 4 years being, famous, I hate that fucking term. It just feels so gross. But, because of the stereotypes that come with it. But, I've been published in everything under the fucking sun, done interviews, done all sorts of shit. I'm known for all sorts of shit. And all of a sudden, out of the woodwork comes people saying, oh, I always knew you could do it. Where the fuck was that when I was nothing? Because I never heard that from nobody.
Yeah.
But
It's the kind of support you wish you had earlier on.
once you made it, all of a sudden, everybody's like Miss Cleo. They saw it coming, right? Fuck out of here, Like I don't like that shit. But you're right. It's the same thing. Oh, you weren't nuts. This is doable because, much like myself, everything that I've done, people viewed it as that's entirely unlikely. That's unrealistic. You're not going to fucking ever do that shit. People don't make it that way. Some are fortunate, sure, but you're not one of those people. All right, fuck you. Watch me do it. You know what I mean? I literally went from having absolutely nothing to I was a 15-year-old fucking. I left home at 15, and lived on the streets because I got out of a bad situation, and because of that, I had to drop out of high school in 11th grade. So I didn't graduate high school still to this day because I had to support myself full time. So to this day, I don't have a high school diploma, and yet people know who I am all over the world because I own a business. I still went to college when I hit like 30, 31. You know what I mean? I bypassed the high school thing. And everyone is like, oh, it's unrealistic. You're never gonna fucking do anything. Yeah, okay. Watch me, motherfucker. You know, if at 15 I can survive like freezing cold winter on the street and work to like I never fucking took nothing from nobody. I worked my ass off with no sleep in a factory job to get a place of my own and start over, you know. Um, I nothing was handed to me, and I wouldn't have it any other way. It builds character.
Mhm.
The world doesn't fucking owe me anything as far as I'm concerned. I earn everything that, you know. I was saying to someone else the other day on the show, my mentality is I can't stand that I paid my dues bullshit. I pay my dues every day. The dues I paid yesterday don't count for today. Today is new work. You know, and I nothing's owed to me. Every day I still got to keep grinding just to stay relevant. I always tell people once you reach the top of the mountain, find a fucking bigger mountain and start climbing again. Don't get too comfortable because there's always
Mhm.
someone coming for your spot. You know what I'm saying? And as a fucking musician, you know this. You know, you're doing your thing and there's somebody that wants your spot. You know what I'm saying? And if you get too comfortable and say, okay, well, I'm successful now, I can ease up, there's someone starving that wants to make it so bad that they'll do anything to take your spot. So, you know, it's I think it's great to be competitive in a healthy way because it keeps you motivated. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I always, want to keep going and make new stuff. I feel like for me, it's more about the music itself, and I don't care too much about the industry or what other people think. And I want that like variety, and I like to have different sounds, and different styles in the work that I make. Whereas like the industry, it's like let's make the most basic shit we can, and then just push it out to people that don't know how to think for themselves, and they'll love it.
Right. Mass produced bullshit. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's such manufactured music. It's like not even music at that point.
Right. I literally was talking to somebody about this the other day where I said machines, because we were talking about live or, you know, if they make a mistake or something, just leave it. Because people prefer that raw fucking sound over something a machine could do. A machine could probably play a guitar better than fucking even the best player, but that machine cannot do one thing, and that's make you feel something because it feels nothing. That's the difference. That's why we don't mind hearing something in its rawest form where maybe there's a chord slip or something doesn't sound perfect. We don't give a shit.
Hmm.
We know that that person's playing from here, you know, and that's what resonates with us. And that's why we get into bands that we get into and rappers that we get into because it's fucking, you know, it resonates with us because it came from somewhere sincere that we've been ourselves. And I was listening to your work actually. Uh, so I know what you do. And I was like, yo, that's dope because that's so much better than like all this mass produced garbage that keeps getting force fed to you. And
Yeah.
you can just tell like they half of them didn't write it themselves.
Yeah, for real. Like it gets so frustrating, hearing those artists that they don't write their songs, and or maybe they wrote like just the lyrics. And it's like how is that even considered music? Why do we promote these people to the top of our musicians or the music we listen to? It doesn't even make any sense because if they can't write it, then they're not even that much of a musician. They're more of a performer than they are a musician.
Yeah,
So
you know that's just it, right? It's like disingenuous to me. It's basically it's kind of like you know if somebody writes your shit for you, you know that's from a label and tells you what to say, what to think, how to say it, how to sound, and edit it to death until it's perfect. What discernible talent must one have to pull that off? Because when they do the shit live, it's going to be a pre-recorded fucking, um, I mean, we've seen it time and time again. I don't even need to say names, but, shit.
mhm.
We've seen the examples. where you could tell they're just playing a track that's been recorded and they're making it look like it's live and it's not. I'm sure you've seen quite a few examples of that too. So
Oh yeah, that definitely happens too. I also had it's funny, I did have a show where I wanted to sing live, but rather than them letting my mic be loud enough to be heard, they just put on the version of the track with my vocals and played it really loudly. And it kind of made sense to me after the fact. Like I was annoyed at first because I was like, I really did want people to hear me singing because I was still singing. But then after the fact, I realized like I don't have an audio guy, and it needs to be balanced. It needs to be like monitored and all that. So it probably would have been, better with the audio guy, and I should have been like happy that they chose to play the one with the vocals just because it was a better representation of the music I made. But yeah, in the future, I definitely prefer to have the audio person if I can.
yeah, I mean, and that's to me like making the best of a situation that you have to work with, and you're gonna kind of as you go, you're gonna figure out what your preferences are, and that's totally fine. That comes with the territory of doing anything. Really, is the more you do it, the more you learn what your preferences are
Hmm.
and what works best for you. I mean, fuck, I do my show. Some days I have my producer handy, so if something fucks up, I have somebody that knows pretty much technology-wise what's happening or how to figure it out pretty quick. Some days I just got to do it myself, and it's like hope for the best. It's like just try not to be an idiot for their day and act like you know a thing or two about this shit. Hope for the best, but I mean, it's been pretty good. But you'll have those moments where it's like, okay, I would have liked this done a little differently, but it is what it is. To me, that's totally acceptable.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone holds that against anybody artist wise. It's when you're fucking trying to pull the wool over somebody's eyes and pretend that you've done all this yourself and that it's totally you and not like, I find even with bands, it's like certain bands are very conscious, and I love this, of don't edit things to death, because if you can't recreate it live, what's the point?
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? If you can't recreate that live, then it's going to seem fake. It's going
Yeah.
yeah.
Like I've never used auto tune in my music because I don't really think it sounds good. Like there is like a really like tiny, if somebody's super picky about the tone, there's like a really tiny improvement in there. But if somebody is singing most of the time on pitch and the vocals are still comped and everything, it's still gonna sound good. Like I don't like the auto tune is so ubiquitous now because I don't even use it, and I don't think it makes songs sound better. I think it makes them sound worse.
You're right. And I agree with that completely, because it's like it doesn't sound human. I think people would rather hear a little human error where you didn't hit something the way you would have liked, rather than something that sounds robotic,
Hmm.
because people can relate to that. None of us are going to fucking do anything perfectly,
Yeah.
try as we might. We're going to get it as close as we can, and we're going to have to learn to be happy with that. But, that's something everyone can relate to. I think that comes with the territory of emotion as well, that you're not going to get from a fucking machine or auto tune or a computer. I think with auto tune that gets lost in translation.
Hmm.
It doesn't pick it up, and therefore it cannot deliver that to people and have them register it. So it's kind of lost. It's a waste, really. So I have to agree with you. Like I know a lot of people shit on autotune just across the board. Does it have its place? I'm sure it probably does, because that's why it was fucking created. But I think that it's a certain purpose that isn't meant to be used for something that is supposed to be emotional or human. If it's just pure party shit or whatever, who fucking cares at that point? Sure, you can get away with it. If it's background stuff, right? Like, I'm sure you can get away with it. But
There's definitely some songs that never would have even been recognized at all if they didn't have super heavy auto tune.
It's true.
And when I hear those songs, I'm just like, why did this ever become a thing? Like, and I'm trying not to call anyone out, but I can definitely think of more than a few examples off the top of my head. Interesting enough, I wouldn't say that one guy that's mostly known for autotune, he can actually sing really well, surprisingly. When he does sing, I forgot his name. It's a Flow Rider, maybe.
Yeah, yeah. I know who you're talking about. I knew.
Yeah,
Oh, is he gonna call out names or no?
well, because like he used the heavy auto tune, but he could still sing and stuff. So if he didn't want to use it, he'd still sound good. But then there's like Party in the USA is just it would sound absolutely terrible without super heavy auto tune. I only like the version of that song that's a mashup with Biggie Smalls. Like I wouldn't listen to it otherwise.
Biggie makes everything better. I mean, shit.
Yeah, I mean you might as well cut out the chorus.
I would have preferred that. Oh shit! I knew where you're going with that, and I was like, I'm not gonna say no damn names. I'm gonna see if you're gonna call out names. I was like, I'm not gonna throw you under the bus here.
Yeah, I mean, I'd rather not call people out. It just gets really frustrating for me, as an artist to be working so hard to just get people to listen and like to acknowledge it, and then there's people out there that like they're barely doing anything. They don't really have the talent in the first place, and then they have this huge platform and all this stuff, and everybody acts like they're the hottest shit ever, and I'm just like like why even hype that? It's so frustrating sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. It's a cash grab, honestly. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it is, unfortunately. And hype sells shit, unfortunately. And I don't know if people are just getting fucking stupider by the day, or what the fuck? Why are we making stupid people famous? I don't get that. It seems these days the less talent you have, the more accepted you are. It's fucked up. So it's nice to see someone come along that's actually putting in an honest effort and fucking using talent to do something, because this autotune shit, like, fuck, dude. Anybody could use that and sound fucking, by today's standards at least, passable. Like you said, there's shit that made it, that sold, and without autotune, there's not a chance in hell it was ever gonna fucking, cross anybody's radar. But here we are. I don't get it.
And it can be like an instrument too, the way that it's used, but at the same time, it's like it really has killed the industry in a lot of ways as far as the music that's on the radio and stuff like that. So I find it more frustrating than as a benefit. I don't see much benefit to it. Like I can see how it would correct like minor pitches and stuff like that, and might like fix somebody singing live if they make a mistake, but it shouldn't be necessary in the first place. We shouldn't be so harsh on people when they do make little mistakes. Like you mentioned with the mistakes, like that just proves that somebody actually made it, and that it wasn't a team of 100 people that just zombified a track, and that's so much better to me to hear like those little mistakes, to know that it has integrity.
Exactly. And I think with autotune as well, I want to say the reason why it's judged as harshly as it is that it's so like it's oversaturating the market.
Mm-hmm.
If it wasn't so overused by so many, if it was just the odd person used it and it was unique, maybe it would be viewed as just variety, something else, if that's what you're into. But it became a bandwagoner kind of thing where like everybody started using it, and then it was just like, holy fuck, is there anyone left with talent? See how quickly that kind of goes from, oh, that's different, to like, now, are you kidding me? You got to find a right balance, and everybody just seemed to jump on people that didn't even need to, and then when you get to the rap industry, I remember Nas was saying rap's dead because this auto tune shit took over, and he hates it. You know,
Yeah.
he said it was fucking garbage, and I don't blame him. And a few other people shared that sentiment. You know, saying it's over. Like everybody wants to use this garbage now. There's no feeling anymore. There's no substance. It's just fucking what can we do on a PC or a Mac. It's like it was disheartening as a rap fan. I was like, fuck, man, I miss the old times of people with talent that had something fucking worth saying.
Hmm.
And it just all of a sudden it sounds like fucking robots
Yeah.
impersonating humans. You know what I mean?
I'd much rather hear somebody's real voice than, like the warbled version of it that makes it pitch perfect. Because it's not really like it sounds better just because it's on tone, it's not the same thing. Because that like real voice, that like rawness, that's a lot more impactful. And like if you're really comping the track in the first place, you're going to take the best pieces of the track. If it sounds that bad, just re-record that part of it. You don't
Right.
have to like send it through a robot to make it sound good enough to listen to.
Right. I mean, like if you were to take rap out of the equation and take auto tune and place it on metal bands and shit, some of the most emotional fucking metal bands out there that you can just hear there's nothing fake about this shit. Okay.
Mhm.
Say you replace Korn's fucking vocals with auto tune. That takes away everything that made them who they are. There's nothing emotional about that anymore. It's robotic, and it's like, why the fuck would I care about this song? Because it's like, yeah, the topic's dark and it's fucked up that someone went through this, but it sounds like a robot went through it. You don't feel anything anymore. Take Slipknot or Stone Sour for example. Fucking put auto tune on that shit. Now it's trash, just like that. You know what I mean? Some of the
Yeah.
greatest writing you'll ever see, but now it's garbage. So,
That's another good point with the writing too, because like lyrics, that bothers me too. All the songs on the radio just so superficial, and there's so little depth in the lyrics in general. Like I hardly ever hear something that even has like a metaphor that's not just a standard phrase. Like most of the time they're just these, standard phrases that are so used out anyway that like why even bother putting them in your song? It's like people don't know how to write like artistically or with any literary meaning or anything. So
right. And again, like to your point, using just whatever fucking fad phase, phrases are being used right now. It's like these companies trying to sell masks. It's like you're a clothing line. Don't fucking sell masks. They're trying to capitalize on what's currently happening because your heart's not in it. People can see through you. They know that it's just trash to make a few bucks easy. Capitalizing on a fucking pandemic. It's the same thing. You're capitalizing on a fad that a bunch of young kids are going to relate to because they talk like this. It means nothing to you. You're coming from an age range that never would have said this dumb shit, but you're using it to make money off those young kids. It's again disingenuous. It's insincere. So you're right. There's no artistic ability in writing there. No creativity. It's just they see if I say this, someone's going to pay for it, And I miss the days when rappers actually gave a fuck. And I shouldn't say that because not all of them are making a quick buck off of fad shit, but some are still out there with substance. And I mean, obviously, you yourself, for you to even have a problem with it, you obviously are, not a part of that problem. So not to discredit you or anybody else that fucking fights that. It's the ones that do create the problem that there's just too much of it,
yeah, I just don't like how shallow things are, and like poetry is a huge part of music. It's a huge part of the meaning and the depth of it. Like it's like there's almost no poetry at all in mainstream music. Like hardly any of those songs have any depth or any meaning. And you kind of touched on it earlier. I feel like our society, the way it is now, it's like stupidity is praised and it's understood, and that's what everybody cares about. They want the dumbest, the biggest pile of crap they can find. And like intelligence is just confusing. It confuses people, and then they don't want to think. But that's like the whole point of art. If art doesn't have any of that depth or any of, if there's no poetry in any of the music we listen to, why do we even listen to music like that?
Exactly. There's a time and a place. If you just want to party and not think too much, fine, I get that. I mean, hence, look at a lot of the shit from the 80s. You know what I mean? That's what it was about. And I get that. Then in the 90s, music became more about identifying with problems and depression and shit like that. That's why everyone thought grunge was so depressing. It's like, yeah, because people kind of got into the mindset of, okay, the party's over, it's back to real life, and we do suffer. We do go through some personal shit. We do feel alone. We do feel, isolated, and like we're the only ones going through it, and we're addressing it. If that bums people out, so be it. Life bums people out. We're just addressing it so some people that grasp the concept that all we're doing is letting you know you're not alone. For other people, it's like, oh, that's so depressing. Well, okay, that's your train of thought. For them, it was about letting people know we go through it too. You're not the only one. Like, it's a human thing. So many people self-diagnose with depression and shit. And it's like, there comes a point, and I don't discredit anyone that has mental illness or anything like that, or question anybody, but there are people that will self-diagnose. And it's like, you do realize you went through some really shitty things, like a loss or something. Your sadness is a fucking extremely rational response and fair response to that. That doesn't necessarily mean that you have mental illness. You are rationally responding to something tragic. It's okay to be bummed out. That doesn't mean you're mentally ill. It means you are a human being that fucking understands you just lost something you'll never get back, something that meant something to you, someone that meant something to you. I lost my son in 2018. He was born with a rare terminal condition. Yeah, that'll bum you out. That'll break you fucking in many ways. But to say immediately, well, then I have medical clinical depression and I need to be doped up on drugs and shit. Really? Or is that just kind of comes with the territory of something sad happened, you're sad, that's totally reasonable to me, and then you try to make the best of it, and there are people that are actually depressed, but it seems so many people just want to self-diagnose. Oh, I'm having an off day, I'm depressed, I fucking have mental illness. It's like, really?
Yeah, I would say grunge is definitely a good example too. Because songs like Black Hole Sun and stuff like that, like they have like a lot of meaning and they use metaphors. Like I don't know why we can't have any of that on the radio right now. And as far as like the depression stuff, there's definitely a huge industry that's like selling it and pushing it to people. Sometimes I'll get these ads like on repeat for like several hours a day just about depression meds and stuff, just because I don't know, clicked on something related to depression or whatever. And it's definitely overdiagnosed and overprescribed. There's a really big drug epidemic in our country, especially with painkillers. I mean, I don't know if depression meds as much as painkillers would be the issue, but maybe it's a bit of both there. Yeah, I definitely wouldn't want to tell anyone that how they feel or like what's best for them, but there's definitely some issues with painkillers in our country.
Oh, absolutely. I agree. And that's why I talk to people about this all the time on the show, about how in Canada, everywhere, every province, it's like across the board, weed is legal. And you guys have your little patches of states where it's still up in the air, and it just seems so archaic at this point. It seems really bizarre to me. It's like another world, because it seems like we've had it legal here for so long that it's just like, wow, there's still places that are fighting it.
Yeah.
It's really bizarre to me. But I hear people talk about it from a U.S. perspective. I listened to a buddy of mine. I was on his show about a week or so ago. And last night he had a guest on who's from the US, but years ago moved here to Canada and lives in Toronto, where I was born, and has been there for a few years. So he's adapted completely, and he can now compare the differences. And he explained his point of view, why he thinks it's the case where here it's all good. He's like, here we don't care about big pharma and all that bullshit and that middle person trying to
Yeah,
intervene.
that's a big part of it for sure.
Right. And I'm like, man, they still peddle fucking, depression meds and shit here, but not to that level. So here you could go to your local liquor store and buy weed. It's just a different section you go to. I have it delivered to my door from a dispensary, and all I do is shoot them a text message. They let me know what they have for the day, because they have all different strains. They have different edibles and shit each day. And they give me the menu with the price range or like what they're charging for each thing, and I just send them what I want. And then I just literally send them a fucking e-transfer, and they show up at my door like, here it is. You know what I mean? And I'm amazed, because I have a fucked up sense of humor. So I'm amazed that they even bother with me. Because the first time that they got an order from me, thankfully they had a sense of humor. I was fucking around like it's still illegal, the way we used to do things with our dealers. So under special instructions for the order, I put "come alone." And thankfully they showed up, and they're like, "Yeah, that's some funny shit." I'm like, "Thank God you understood. I was just fucking around." I got a fucking sense of humor, man. And they're like, "No, we understood. We thought it was pretty funny, like as if we're doing something totally illegal still, like it's some big drug deal going down, And so thank God they understood. Now it's like no problem. It's within an hour I'll have my shit at my door. And then to hear about certain states in the US still not on board with the legalization, it's like, what the fuck is going on over there? That you would think with certain states totally being okay with it and monetizing it, making money off of it, they would all follow suit. But the same could be said over here. There was a time not too terribly long ago, UFC could not have an event here. Where I come from in Toronto, they were like, nope, we're not going to let them do their thing here because we think it's barbaric and all this other bullshit. I'm like, this is what I do for a living, you assholes. You know what I mean? So, but eventually they found a way to monetize it, and they realized how much money it would generate for the city. And they realized regulations have kind of kicked in since the mid 90s, when somebody died in the octagon from getting hit in the head too many times. Regulations have changed. There's a lot more safety involved. So they're like, okay, it's less brutal now. There are rules now that they didn't necessarily have before. They're taking precautions. Okay, we get it. And we can make money off of it. So fuck it. Because other provinces said, well, fuck it. Fuck Toronto. Come out here to Vancouver. You can do it here, no problem. So then Toronto's like, well, we're missing out on that revenue. So now we're good with it, So
yeah, I think it's pretty ridiculous too how that law pans out. Like I live in Texas, so it's still illegal here, and I think it's absurd that we literally have this like miracle herb that everybody knows it works great for all these different things, for like cancer, hypoglycemia, glaucoma, people with seizures, all these different things. Like it wouldn't work for all those things if it was awful. And the other thing is there's people that like literally they like found like a little baggie on them. They put them in jail for like 20 years. Those people are still in there and they haven't been pardoned yet. And it just goes back to like it's really antiquated like political structure and these presidents that just hated hippies and wanted to destroy that whole culture. But like there's no reason that people shouldn't have access to something that is much more beneficial than much more toxic chemical substances that are created and are publicly available on the market. Because it's much safer than those things, and it's even better than alcohol. So
Right.
it doesn't make sense.
But and yet alcohol's totally legal. How many drunk drivers kill people on the regular in both Canada and the U.S.? And that's legal.
Yeah, exactly.
Buy
Like
alcohol.
Texas is one of the worst states for that, actually. We might even monitor that. Like if it got legalized here, we might have a lot less driving deaths in this state. So I'm definitely for it. I mean, even my parents are for it at this point because they think it's ridiculous that something that has such positive effects for so many people is still outlawed when all these other things are so much worse and they're actively promoted and totally fine.
Right. I mean, even where I'm at right now, even edibles are legal. Like I could order fucking. At one point they weren't. It was just weed and CBD oil.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually it was like now edibles are legal too. It didn't take long, but maybe it's the stoner in me, but I'm a little envious. You being in Texas, I know the weed's illegal, but the Mexican food you must have access to is fucking just. I love Mexican food, man.
Yeah, we got a lot of Tex-Mex stuff here. I like it a lot too. It's definitely grown on me too over time.
No doubt. Anyways, man, I fucking am getting that go home cue, and I've taken up a lot of your time, and you got a lot of shit to do. So, anything you want to promote before we go?
We'll definitely check out my album. It's called Thick Juicy Bass. I made it myself, so I'm pretty proud of it. The style is mostly hip hop and EDM with some pop in it. It goes all over the place, and I sing it in 3 languages. So I definitely think y'all would like it a lot if you check it out.
That's dope. Hey, man, it's been a blast, and you're awesome. Fucking, you ever want to come back? Say the word. Let me know. I'd love to have you back, and we'll do this again. We'll talk about that fucking food.
Yeah, that'd be great. I could be like get a beer or something next time.
Hell yeah. All right, brother. I appreciate your time, and I know you're a busy dude, so I'm going to let you go do what you got to do. And I appreciate having you on, man. It's been a blast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was great speaking to you.
You too, man. Have a good one, brother.
Have a good one.
Thanks.
Peace.
So that was Sage Suede. I always like seeing what young up-and-coming musicians think of the way the current standard is with the industry. I feel it has its pros and cons. I mean, I like that the labels are a little less controlling of artists now because of the internet and things of that nature, but at the same time, it has its drawbacks as well, and it's always cool to see what young musicians think. And to see that some of them still like old school methods and none of this auto-tune shit, which, like I said, it has its place, but it also can destroy what would have been great music otherwise. So I think we gotta pick our spots with that. Really cool talking to him, man. He's a pretty interesting cat, really nice guy. Check out his work, man. I think you'll dig it. It's different, it's unique, and I love that. And I think he'll get better with time, like anybody. So, thanks for checking us out, man. I appreciate y'all. I hope y'all are staying safe out there. I'll catch your asses later.
I will not speak to your smallness, a destruction of the fear in us.